Yo, what's going on YouTube? GoToGrant back here with another one, and in my last video I promised you guys a freeze poison rogue that would be just absolutely ungodly. And let me tell you, after about a week of rigorous testing, I've finally put this build into its solidified state and got it to a point where I feel comfortable putting it into a build guide for you guys and showcasing it so that you guys can not only see what it's capable of, but also test and use it for yourself. As you're about to see in this showcase, which is a 2-minute tier 100 Sarat, this build is just absolutely ungodly. Not only have I gained survivability, but I've anywhere from 5 to 10x my damage, which is just unthinkable. With this specific spec, I set out to build the ultimate poison apothecary rogue, and in my opinion, I've definitely achieved that goal, if not excelled beyond it. I'm literally able to jump from pack to pack applying infinite amounts of poison, and with the extra damage that I get from the chill and freeze effects, this heart and this spec is just absolutely broken. Not only have I gained anywhere from 5 to 10x my damage, I've also gained survivability through my Paragon upgrade. Absolutely nothing stands in my way anymore. I'm instantly evaporating nearly every enemy that comes in my path, including elites. I've truly got to say, this is probably not only the best performing, but also just the most enjoyable poison rogue that I've built to date. Meaning you guys definitely don't want to miss out on this one, as you're going to be able to do insane things with this build. You'll be doing a lot of damage, you'll definitely be taking those tier 100s, and if you wanted, you could go in and smack Lilith around all day long. But outside of hyping up the build, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to be having 3 other variants coming out here very soon, probably rolled out this weekend. I'm going to be doing an Uber Lilith build, a Creeping Death build, and a Barber build. I might play around with some other things, but those are my main focuses right now. I'm also doing a massive giveaway, so if you guys are interested in that, make sure that you're subscribed, you stay active on the channel, and down in the description, join my Discord to stay updated with further news on that. I'll be giving away anywhere from 100 to 500 biz items, all geared specifically for my builds. If this is something you're interested in and don't want to miss out, like I said before, make sure that you're subscribed, you stay active on the channel, and you join that Discord down in the description to stay updated with all the news in regards to when it's going to be happening and what exactly I'll be giving away. I guess we've talked long enough to get to the end of the showcase here, as we're now defeating Sarat. As you can see, we're applying quite a bit of poison damage even though Sarat's running around. If we CC'd it and we're able to get a good proc, we'd probably be stacking anywhere from 5 to 10 million damage. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this was about a 2-minute run, and I just so happened to pretty much full clear the dungeon, so that was pretty impressive. I wanted to go ahead and throw this up as a showcase for you guys, although I feel like I can personally do better and will strive to do better. So if I do go ahead and do like a sub 2-minute run or something and break a world record, I'll definitely be uploading that. Hopping into our skills here, a couple things have changed. You guys will have noticed if you're paying attention to the showcase that I only run 5 skills now. Apart from that, a couple points have changed in regards to passives, so let's get right into it. First off here is going to be our basic, Puncture. We'll pick this up as it's going to give us a near 100% uptime on our vulnerability procs against every enemy that we fight due to the fundamental Puncture spec. On top of that, every third cast, we're not only going to be getting a slow proc, but a poison imbued proc due to our pestilent point aspect, which not only does good standalone poison damage, but will also help us proc that bursting venoms, which we're seeking to have near 100% uptime on. And moving on down here to our core, as always, we're going to be picking up Twisting Blades as it combines the best of both worlds in regards to single target and AoE damage, speccing that out into improved Twisting Blades for that daze effect, as well CCs give us essentially more survivability. On top of that, daze will proc other effects and help us with our CC uptime in order to gain the maximum benefit for our multiplicative damage factors. Speaking of survivability gains, we're also going to be going down right below that and picking up 3 out of 3 ranks of Sturdy. This is going to give us 12% close damage reduction, and although we spam close damage reduction on not only our gear but our Paragon, we're still going to pick it up in our skill tree here in order to gain maximum benefits for survivability. And of course, just to the left of that, we're going to be picking up Siphoning Strikes 3 out of 3. Considering the recent buff, we're actually going to be using this as our sole source of sustain, and it doesn't do that bad of a job. In my opinion, you can probably go ahead and pick up Stolen Vigor still if you want just an extra layer of that survivability. However, you can get by 100% with just Siphoning Strikes. When it comes to the agility skills, we're still running Shadow Step for that CC break, as there's nothing more annoying in the game than a CC. But I've been experimenting with subbing out Shadow Step for Concealment, as they both grant us that unstoppable that we're looking for in order to break those CC effects. However, Concealment will grant us a 30% additive movement speed when active, and it can be used as a speed clearing tool in order to just essentially skip and run past mobs, gaining essentially anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds off of your time. But that's not really my cup of tea, so we're going to be sticking with Shadow Step for now and taking a look back at our agility skills. We're of course going to be picking up Dash for that not only positioning and movement, but survivability. And of course, to the right of that, we're going to be picking up the Concussive as well as the Trick Attacks passive. Trick Attacks will of course give us a way to knock down dazed enemies, therefore giving us another form of CC and survivability. And since we're running Concussive, whenever we knock those enemies down, we will gain an increased critical strike chance against them. This definitely helps with all procs, but most importantly, that Bursting Venoms proc, which we're looking to get near 100% uptime on. Dropping down to our subterfuge skills, we are still running Dark Shroud by means of the Umbrus aspect, as the efficiency and uptime on that are very good. However, we no longer need a point in it, and we definitely don't need the advanced forms, as we don't need the movement speed, nor the 14% chance to not be consumed through the enhanced Dark Shroud spec. With 100% certainty, we still want to pick up Exploit as well as Malice, 3 out of 3 ranks, as these are just free multiplicative damage factors and are no-brainer pickups. Of course, when it comes to our Poison Imbuement skills, we're going to be holding true to that Poison Imbuement, specking out into Blended Poison in order to gain that 75% multiplicative poison damage increase whenever we critically strike. Taking a look just below that, we're going to be picking up Debilitating Toxins for that 15% damage reduction from poison enemies. And to the left of that, we most definitely want the 9% multiplicative poison damage increase coming from Deadly Venom. Hopping over here to the left, we're still going to be picking up Precision Imbuement for that increased critical strike chance with imbued skills, as this is going to help with our procs all around. Now, considering we're going for the Freeze Poison build here, we are picking up one new passive, and that's going to be Frigid Finesse. And what that's going to do is allow us to get a 15% multiplicative damage increase to chilled enemies, alongside a 30% multiplicative increase to frozen enemies. This one passive is a massive multiplicative factor for our poison damage. However, when paired with the Close Quarters Combat Key passive and Noxious Ice, our poison damage just skyrockets through the roof. In my opinion, this is an absolute must-have when running the Apothecary Wrathful Heart, and when paired with the Shared Misery aspect, you have a near 100% uptime on those chill and freeze effects, so you'll always be getting the multiplicative factor here. As you guys know, when it comes to our ultimates, we don't pick up any ultimate skills. However, we definitely take full advantage of the passives here that are available to us. Starting us off here with Innervation at 2 out of 3 ranks, we're going to be picking this up for that 20% chance to gain 8 energy. This is really useful for energy maintenance, and when paired with not only Adrenaline Rush, but that resource regen we have on our ring, our energy maintenance is pretty much near 100% on uptime for being able to spam our TB however we please, making it so that we can have as many poison applications as possible in a given time period. Just above that, we're going to be picking up Alchemist Fortune, 3 out of 3 ranks for that 15% increased lucky hit chance for non-physical damage. Considering this is the Apothecary Wrathful Heart build, we're going to be doing poison damage, cold damage, and shadow damage, so we will always have this procced at all times, giving us the maximum benefit on lucky hit chance, which is very good because this will not only help us proc all of our aspects, but our Siphoning Strikes passive as well. On that same note, hopping over here to the left, we're of course going to be picking up Second Wind for that additional 15% increased lucky hit chance once again every time we spend 100 energy, and considering we're spamming and have good energy regeneration like I mentioned, this is always going to be procced. Dropping down, like I mentioned before, we're picking up Adrenaline Rush for that increased energy regeneration whilst moving, and because we have 2 to 3 ranks of Innervation, we don't really need Adrenaline Rush at a higher rank than 1, so we save those points to be distributed elsewhere, and mainly we pick up Haste at 3 out of 3 ranks. This will give us that increased movement speed and attack speed of an additive 15%. Now this is the most important part, so listen up as it will make or break your build. When it comes to your key passive, you have 2 options. You can either pick up Close Quarters Combat for that extra attack speed and the 30% multiplicative damage bonus that I mentioned before, or if you're struggling specifically with survivability, energy regeneration, and movement speed, this is very, very key, guys. You do not want to pick up Close Quarters Combat. Let me repeat. You do not want to pick up Close Quarters Combat if you're struggling with survivability, energy regeneration, or movement speed. Specifically, if you're a lower level or you don't have Biz gear yet, you're probably not going to want to pick up Close Quarters Combat yet. This is going to be more for the hardcore, more skillful players that don't really need the damage reduction and already have best in slot god rolled gears. No offense to anybody, I'm just letting you guys know that if you're more average and you don't have the perfect rolls on gear, or you don't have level 100 progression yet, it might be a good idea to hold off on Close Quarters Combat and pick up that Momentum. Momentum is a key passive just like Close Quarters Combat that we can keep 100% uptime on, meaning we get the benefit of not only 20% increased damage reduction, 30% multiplicative increased energy regeneration, but also 15% increased movement speed at all times. When pairing these benefits with the aspect Stolen Vigor and the healing that it provides, you have nearly 100% uptime on sustainability for not only your life, but your energy as well, making Momentum an absolutely overpowered and broken option for your key passive. However, you can easily substitute these stats out on your Gear and Paragon board, making Momentum just not that necessary of a choice in-game. That's why I recommend picking up Close Quarters Combat for that increased attack speed and damage. As well, increased attack speed will help us with our procs and sustainability, and having that increased damage is, well, good too. I mean, who's going to complain about increased damage, right? We went from doing, well, 2 million damage to 10 million or more damage, so I'll definitely take that. So like I said, if you're struggling with your sustainability, your defense, and your survivability in general, you definitely want to pick up Momentum, as well as that Stolen Vigor aspect for extra healing. However, if you're set, you've got good gear, you don't need any more defense, and it's actually overkill, you definitely want to pick up Close Quarters Combat for your key passive, as that's going to give you, like I said, increased attack speed for your procs, but also 30% multiplicative damage to crowd controlled enemies, which will be all enemies, giving us an insane multiplicative factor when combined with not only, like I said, Frigid Finesse, but also Noxious Ice. With all that out of the way, that's going to cover it for the skills. Let's go ahead and move on and take a look at our gear. Now I'll be showing the spreadsheet on screen just like in all my other previous videos for the priority stat rolls. However, you're primarily going to want to look for and copy exactly what I have on my gear, as I do feel like those are biz. Starting off with our crossbow here, we're going to have the accelerating aspect as it is biz on our bow. It not only gives us increased proc rates, but also increased applications on poison, which is just more damage. Hopping over and taking a look at our daggers, we can see that we're still running Ashira's Conjar, as in my opinion it's biz. It not only gives us an insane amount of lucky hit chance, but also attack speed, which helps with procs overall. And when it comes to our legendary dagger, we're running the Blade Dancer's aspect as it needs to be put somewhere. And we're definitely running that all stats roll as we need it for the Paragon board once again. On our first ring, we have Pestilent Points still for that increased proc rate on BV. However, we swapped Resource Regen for the Poison Damage stat, and that does really well. However, if you needed more survivability, I would pick up Max Life, and if you still need more energy, keep that Resource Regen roll. Pretty obvious here, but since we don't pick up Resource Regen on our first ring, we pick it up on our second, and we absolutely need the aspect of Corruption, so we're picking that up. Really important here, since we're running Disobedience on our neck now, we're no longer running that Momentum like I mentioned. However, if you want that extra survivability like I stated, you guys definitely want to run Stolen Vigor with Momentum in order to gain not only that extra damage reduction, but the healing that Stolen Vigor provides. Meaning it would be okay to keep that Stolen Vigor on your amulet or swap it to your chest piece, or you can completely cut it out of your build entirely and swap over to close quarters combat. Hopping over to the helm, we can see that absolutely nothing has changed here. We're still running basic skill attack speed with the Umbra's aspect in order to give us that near 100% uptime on Dark Shroud like I said. That way we don't have to attribute a point into it, which helps us out a lot. On our chest, we're running the Noxious Ice aspect, which gives us up to a 29% multiplicative factor on poison damage, and also helps us with our chill and freeze procs. But if you guys need that additional survivability, like I said before, you're definitely going to want to pick up Stolen Vigor, so definitely just trade out either Disobedience or Stolen Vigor for this aspect right here. Once again, our gloves have absolutely not changed at all. We're still running the Bursting Venoms aspect on them as, well, we need to run it somewhere, and the stat rolls have not changed at all, as in my opinion, those are all biz. Same can be said for our pants, those are exactly the same. Stats are all exactly the same, and we're still running the aspect of might. Now when it comes to our boots, we're definitely going to want to stick with the main stat that reduces evade's cooldown. However, we drop the energy reduction stat for, well, all stats, as we once again needed this for Paragon board in order to meet the threshold to double the rare nodes within it. When it comes to the aspect, we're still running Shared Misery for that spread of our CC effects. This helps a lot with Apothecary as it spreads our chill, which is then advanced to freeze and then spread further. That's going to wrap it up for our aspects and stats. Let's go ahead and move on to our gems and our hearts. When it comes to our weapons, we're going to be picking up Amethyst for that damage over time. On our gear, we're going to be picking up Rubies for that max life. And then, of course, when it comes to our hearts, on our amulet, we're going to be picking up the Wrathful Heart Apothecary. This allows us to apply all imbuements with our attacks, meaning we gain increased uptime on our Bursting Venoms aspect, but most importantly, we're able to apply Shadow Explosions as well as Chill and Freeze effects without even having Cold Imbuement or Penitent Greaves. This allows us to get the multiplicative factors from Noxious Ice and Frigid Finesse without even running the associated skill or unique that would normally be paired and required in order to gain those benefits. When looking at our first ring here, we can see that absolutely nothing has changed. We're still running the Brutal Heart of Revenge for that 20% damage reduction. This is more important than ever, and in my opinion, pretty much everybody should be running this, so absolutely make sure that you have this on. On our second ring, of course, we're going to be running the Calculated Devious Heart for that stun effect, which in turn gives us a little bit of extra survivability. We're pretty much always going to be able to proc this at some point, as spending 150 energy really isn't anything to us. That's going to go ahead and wrap it up for our stats and aspects. I do want to make a quick note. Make sure that you guys are running the Bursting Venoms aspect, as that's the most important aspect to the build. Without it, we don't do any poison damage, we can't stack, and we really can't do anything. Apart from that, make sure you have the aspect of Corruption, you're running the Apothecary Wrathful Heart, and you try to have that Ashira's Conjar at least at a decent roll in order to maintain synergies with the build. Apart from that though, feel free to change things up at your own discretion, swap the aspects as those are pretty much interchangeable. The only ones that really matter are the crossbow and amulet as they provide multipliers, but just try to stick to the overall format of the build if you want to go ahead and follow suit with my spec. Hopping up to take a look at our specialization, we are still running combo points as it's, in my opinion, biz. Inner sight is, well, still busted. I don't know what's going on with it. It doesn't work in nightmare dungeons properly, so I just have no plans on running it anytime soon. And with the energy regeneration that we have near unlimited energy anyways, so there's no real point. Combo points is definitely the way to go here. Now that we've covered all that, let's hop over and take a look at our Paragon board, as that's the most important change that we've made. Before we dive right in, I want to mention that there's been quite a few changes to the positioning and path of the boards, as well as the glyphs that reside within them, so make sure that you pay attention. However, if you need a static reference, go ahead and check the description down below, as I will be linking the Maxwell Planner and the spreadsheets that I reference within the video. Getting started off here with our first board, we're going to be picking up Versatility, which gives us 15% multiplicative increased damage to our non-basic and non-core skills, as well as 150% bonus to all magic nodes within range, meaning we're going to want to pick up Skillful, Lawless, and the surrounding magic nodes. Hopping up here to our second board, Tricks of Trade, we'll have another Lawless rare node to pick up, as well as the Bane Glyph, which is going to give us increased poison damage, as well as a 10% chance for those poison effects to deal double the amount of damage over their duration. Hopping up just above that, we're going to be picking up the Focus rare node, as well as the Brawler rare node over here on the right. Then we'll be bouncing over to the left to pick up our third board, which will start off with the Calculated rare node, progressing into the Closer glyph, which gives us Cutthroat skill damage, and then we'll be bouncing over to the right to pick up Devious, Wiles, or Willis, not exactly sure how this rare node is pronounced, and then we'll be hopping up to pick up Cheap Shot, the legendary node, which is going to give us up to a 25% multiplicative damage increase, and then just to the left of that, we'll be picking up Safeguard. Now for our fourth board, we'll bounce over here, pick up No Witnesses, grab the Training rare node, the Efficacy glyph, which is going to give us a 20% multiplicative increase on potency to our imbuement skills. Then it'll give us a 125% bonus to all rare nodes within range, meaning we'll get that benefit on our Training rare node as well as our Knowledge rare node right here. That's going to give us increased damage. We'll then want to bounce all the way back over to the left, picking up the Cunning Stratagem board right here, grabbing the Finisher rare node for that core skill damage, and then the Diminish glyph in order to get that 10% reduced physical damage from vulnerable enemies, as well as the 125% bonus to all rare nodes within range. We will then be picking up once again a third Lawless rare node in order to get that armor, and then bouncing over here to the Exploit weakness board in order to pick up the Exploit rare node, the Control glyph, which is going to give us a multiplicative factor of 10% to slowed or chilled enemies, and then a multiplicative factor of 20% for stunned frozen enemies, as well as that just outright damage to crowd control enemies. Then just above that, we'll be picking up the Artifice rare node and bouncing over to pick up our final and seventh board, the Eldritch Bounty board, which will be the Potent rare node for starters, and then the Exploit glyph, which is going to give us that vulnerable damage and the extra way to proc vulnerable damage. But that's going to go ahead and round it off for our Paragon board, guys. That's covered it actually for the whole build, I believe. We got the skills, aspects, stats, specialization, gems, as well as now the Paragon board. So that's going to cover it for our entire build. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the build in the video. If you want to stay updated with my build, strategies, and other D4 content in general, don't forget to subscribe. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to drop any questions or feedback you might have down in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace out.